Here comes Sims. Pedaling into the paint, leaning and hitting a 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana. And Minnesota wants a timeout. Caitlin Clark knows it.
What did Kelsey Mitchell say in the locker room after Indiana's third straight win that had her teammates buzzing? The Fever just knocked off the Lynx without 5 key players, including Caitlin Clark. And that moment perfectly summed up this team's mindset heading into the playoffs. Stay tuned, because Mitchell's words may be the clearest glimpse yet into how the Fever see themselves, not as underdogs, but as contenders rewriting the script in 2025. If you're pumped up for the playoffs, comment "Fired up for the Fever" down below. Let's go.
I know a lot of people will talk about Nafisa not playing, but I think they're really good without her. You know, they're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard-wise. We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx. And so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because being able to know guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull-up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance. And if they are the standard, we get to see where we are.
How does a team missing 5 of its key players manage to put together 3 straight wins against some of the toughest competition in the league? That's exactly what the Indiana Fever just accomplished. And for a squad that looked left for dead just a couple of weeks ago, the turnaround feels like a story no one saw coming. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, and Ari McDonald were all sidelined. That's 5 rotation players, including the face of the league in Clark. For most teams, losing that much talent would have been the nail in the coffin, especially heading into the stretch run of a season.
Fever done with the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah.
You already know what it is. Dubs in the check, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs with some momentum.
Remember, this was a group that had lost 4 of its previous 5 games. At that moment, Indiana's playoff dreams looked like they were slipping away. Fans were asking if the Fever would even have enough bodies to be competitive, let alone string together wins against teams like the Lynx. You could feel that doubt start to creep in, like the entire season, sprinkled with so much promise, was about to dissolve in front of everyone.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. There's a work ethic and there's a work style, and to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
But this team didn't cave. Instead, they scrambled to reinvent themselves right in the middle of the season. Stephanie White preached a simple message for the players to hold on to. Be where your feet are. That phrase carried meaning beyond the obvious. It forced every player to stop worrying about who wasn't on the court and refocus on who was available, what role they could play, and how they could impact each possession.
How many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And, these are things that you have to go through. I often say there's no substitute for experience, and the experience that these guys have had to have to continue to reinvent, to have to continue to find different ways to get back up, and to play through some different struggles is not just paying us dividends this season, but as far as what it's doing for our culture, it's going to pay dividends for many years to come.
That mentality showed up immediately in their clash with Minnesota. Indiana stormed out to a 10-0 lead, setting a tempo that stunned the Lynx. They weren't waiting around. They imposed their energy at both ends of the floor. Shots were falling, the defense was swarming, and suddenly the Fever had flipped the story. Instead of drowning in injuries, they were dictating the action. You saw it from the veterans grabbing big rebounds and the reserves diving on loose balls. Everyone bought into the idea that their best chance to win came from competing harder than the opponent on every single play. It wasn't always pretty, but it was relentless. That's the kind of performance that separates a team surviving from a team actually winning. And here's the payoff. That win not only pushed the Fever into their first winning record since 2015, it also showed that resilience is now their identity. Injuries didn't define them, response did. And while the blueprint for how to adapt has been written as a team, it's also been carried by individuals who elevated their games to new heights. None more so than Kelsey Mitchell, whose historic season is reshaping the future of Indiana basketball.
I love you!
With no Caitlin Clark on the floor, the biggest question was simple. Who was going to step up and actually keep the Fever alive? This wasn't just about filling her stat line, it was about finding scoring, leadership, and energy from somewhere else. That's why the Lynx game was so eye-opening. It showed everyone that Indiana's depth isn't just surviving, it's thriving when the lights are brightest. Fans worried that without Clark and Sophie Cunningham, the Fever's offense would dry up. And honestly, it was a fair concern. Those two carry the kind of shooting presence that spacing relies on. But instead of stagnating, Indiana leaned on versatility.
8 teams have ever done that. 7 of them went on to win the title. As Boston gets free and lays it in.
She will be on my first team.
Boston in the paint, sneaks through 2 and lays it in.
Aaliyah Boston became more than just a paint anchor. She ran the offense from the post like a guard in a center's body. She tied her own rebounding record, grabbing everything in sight. And every time she touched the ball on the block, the Lynx defense shifted. By forcing doubles, she opened lanes for shooters and set the table for everyone else.
Here's Boston off the steal, coast to coast, heading for 2. Here comes Sims. A little hop. She took it inside the arc. Boston able to finish, looked like she was getting hugged, but was persistent.
Then there was Odyssey Sims, who reminded everyone she's still got plenty left in the tank. Coming off the bench and dropping 15 points, she looked like she had been waiting for the chance to prove herself again. After the game, she called it a fresh start, saying, "New season starts Sunday."
Williams. Turner finds the cutter. Sims using the window on a really nice pass.
That wasn't just a catchy line. It summed up exactly how Indiana has approached this stretch of basketball. Sims brought steadiness to the backcourt, managed possessions, and gave them a secondary playmaker that the Lynx never fully adjusted to. It was a performance that spoke volumes about both her preparation and the team's resilience in trusting her. And just as Minnesota tried clawing back into the game, Aerial Powers had her moment. Back-to-back three-pointers that ripped through the net and silenced the Lynx's momentum. You could feel the game shift right there.
In her 8th game with the Fever, in their ever-expanding roster because of their injuries, Williams went for the steal. Powers sticks the jumper from 3.
That was the clear side of the floor, and Atisha Heidemann read the defense beautifully.
Howard, good position on the interior. Draws 2, kicks it out. Powers, you bet! Back-to-back threes from Aerial Powers. Caitlin Clark, euphoric on the bench.
Those 2 shots felt like a dagger, not just because of their timing, but because of the confidence they showed. Powers didn't hesitate, and by doing so, she gave her team breathing room during a critical stretch.
Mitchell draws 2 defenders, races away. Home steps inside and flips it in. Really patient. Odyssey Sims with 13, Kelsey Mitchell with 12, Jessica Shepard with 12, Alana Smith with 11. Here's Hull, another.
Kelsey Mitchell.
Lexi Hull proved once again that she's more than a role player. She was everywhere, switching on defense, contesting shots against bigger forwards, and still finding ways to chip in offensively. Coaches love players who can guard multiple positions, and Hull's ability to slide seamlessly has become a backbone of this team's defense. Add in her presence as a capable scorer who doesn't need set plays run for her, and you see why she's become indispensable.
Tonight for Indiana, but then Carlton gives it right back, and Howard cashes in.
To perform like this, but they have 5 different players almost at all times who can bring the ball up the floor. Usually 4 or 5 who are adept at making shots from deep. I mean, you just saw a big there creating her own look as well from Natasha Howard. Career high in terms of her field goal percentage, and you see her here, the little spin to the middle. That's a tough shot.
Natasha Howard quietly pulled the front court together with her efficiency. She hit shots in rhythm, battled under the rim, and gave balance so Boston didn't have to do everything down low.